I know I need to cue campfire cooking in another world, but more than likely I'll have to start that tomorrow because I want to continue with this. Okay, this is I'll Never Set Foot in That House Again, Volume 2. Prologue. My name is Chelsea. I'm the adopted daughter of Margrave Sargent and a research fellow at the Royal Research Institute. Up until 3 months ago, I lived day to day being abused and called useless in a certain baron's family. Okay, that was 3 months ago. So it's been 3 months since she left that house. However, ever since I woke to the brand new skill, seed creation, everything has been going well and I'm living really happily now. A while ago, I made a coconut palm seed using my skill. Today, since the first stage of my skill examination has finished, we'll decide to try drinking the juice from the coconut that grew from the tree, both as a celebration and as an inspection. Lord Glenn was already inside my personal lab. He was the king of Chronowise's younger brother and a nationally recognized appraiser with sage-level appraisal and cure skills. How do you know that? Did he tell her that? Or is it just... I don't know. He was a beautiful man with dark blue hair like the night sky and blue eyes that sucked you in. When I first met him, I couldn't help myself from staring, thinking a fairy tale angel had come for me. While I was thinking about the past, there was a knock on the door. Sorry to keep you guys waiting, Lord Trist said as he walked inside. He was the son of Marquis Forium and a researcher at the Institute who was helping research my seed creation skill. He had brown hair and glasses and a unique way of speaking. Lord Trist was in a great mood and skipped over to the table, putting the coconut in the center. It's bigger than I thought it would be, right? Everything that grows from Miss Chelsea's seeds is twice the normal size. Really? Does that mean the spirit tree is going to be that big too? The coconut fruit was fresh and green and larger than my head. In my plant book, it said that fresh coconut fruit has juice and some jiggly white stuff called copra inside. I'm excited to taste it as it, holding my hands together. Lord Glenn gave me a gentle smile while Lord Trist grinned. Okay, I'll cut it. Water magic. After Lord Trist muttered the skill name, a blade of water appeared and started slowly cutting through the top of the coconut. The moment it finished, the water blade disappeared. Oh, so you can use water magic too, Lord Trist? Yep, I use earth magic to plant the seeds you make and tend to them every day with water magic. They say I'm the best man for the job, he answered, his smile growing even bigger at my shocked question. He was right. Having both the earth magic and water magic skills would be really handy for studying my seeds. Now that it's been cut, I'll pour the juice into glasses. Wait, I forgot to bring some, he sighed, face falling. What should we do? Should we ring the bell to summon one of the maids? While it was all in a fluster, Lord Glenn pulled 3 glasses out of nowhere. Use these. What? Where did you put those from? Thanks, Lord Trist thanked him before pouring the coconut juice evenly into the glasses. Despite the size, there wasn't much juice in them. I mean, it's probably not even completely ripe yet, so... Altogether, it was only enough to fill 1 glass. Let me appraise it before we drink it, Lord Glenn said, staring at the translucent juice. This is amazing. He sounded shocked despite having appraised a lot of different things. What's wrong? It's labeled as special coconut juice, and the effect says after drinking, it will restore an extremely small amount of mana without any health drain. What? Are you serious? That's way too amazing. Just how good would it really be? I looked at Lord Trist confused and he jumped up to explain. We've got things called mana potions. They use a bit of your health to forcefully restore mana. You feel good right after drinking from the mana gain, but about an hour later, the health bit starts kicking in and you're exhausted. I can't believe there could be anything that could do it without making you exhausted. I see, I said, nodding, taken aback by his enthusiasm. Even if it's an extremely small amount, it's still unbelievable. You could even say it's a miracle, Lord Glenn piped up. Your other plants might have similar effects. Man, it's so exciting how there's still so much we don't even know. Even after finishing our first stage, Lord Trist was ecstatic and began happily hopping around the room a few times. Let's get to drinking it. All 3 of us raised it to our lips at Lord Glenn's signal. It tasted strange, nothing like anything I'd ever drank before. It tasted kind of weird, kind of sweet. As we gulped it down, Lord Glenn scowled. I don't really like the flavor. It's not like I couldn't drink it, but I wouldn't do it on my own accord. I'd drink it over a normal mana potion, though, since it doesn't cost any health to recover your mana. Not everybody is a fan of coconut water. It seemed he was using appraise on himself as he drank, checking to see if his mana was truly recovering. Lord Triss, on the other hand, downed it with his eyes wide. I think it's delicious. I want to drink more. Mass production? That'd be hard to do until we can examine it further. That means if we get further into the examination process, we'll be able to drink a lot sometime, right? We'll spread coconut juice as an alternative to mana potions someday, Lord Triss cried, smiling. Once we were all finished drinking, I looked at what was left inside the coconut. Oh, that's right, my book said the white stuff on the inside was edible too. Really? I could just see the sparkle in Lord Triss's eyes. It's what you make coconut milk from. With that, you might be able to make coconut milk flan. Wait, Chelsea, your eyes are sparkling just as much as Triss's now, Lord Glenn said with a chuckle. Since flan is my favorite sweet, it must have been written all over my face. I've appraised the insides too, but they have no special effects. But it does say it's tasty, unlike the juice. Seriously? Let me get it straight to the chefs then. Lord Triss scooped up the coconut and left the lab. Since Triss is gone, let's end our session for today, Lord Glenn said before sitting across from me at the table for some reason. Usually he'd walk me back to my room right about now. Is something wrong? Kinda, he said, sending the other servants away. Then we were the only ones left. I sat up straight, waiting, and he gave me a strained smile. I've got something to talk to both you and Elle about. The moment he was mentioned, the spirit tree outside of the lab sparkled, and Elle, the king of spirits, appeared as a silver-furred kitten. He was really a beautiful man with long hair that reached the floor, but he'd taken kitten form since making a contract with me. It's rare for you to want to speak with me, he said haughtily, floating in the air. I knew he was super important as the king of all the spirits, but his kitten form was just too cute. I held back my urge to pet him and looked back at Lord Glenn. We've actually received a top-secret letter from the former emperor of the Radzul Empire. The Radzul Empire was to be to the west of the kingdom of Chronowise, touching the Sergeant Margraviat on the border. I heard from Lord Glenn that the miasma, something horrible that would wither plants, pollute water, and drive both humans and animals mad, was spreading through the country. Basically, they're asking for a cutting of the spirit tree, but spirit trees were a type of tree that birthed, or rather summoned, spirits who could purify the miasma and could only be planted from cuttings of the original origin spirit tree. The only one who could do that was the person contracted to Elle, the king of spirits, which was me, which meant that I was the only person who could do it. They didn't give us any more details in the letter other than that their messenger would tell us later. If they want a spirit tree cutting, that means that the miasma really is running rampant through the kingdom. It's spreading to the Sergeant Margravia, after all. As I nodded along with Lord Glenn's explanation, the floating kitten Elle spoke in a deeper voice than usual. So, they're telling you to bring Lady Chelsea to a place overflowing with miasma. A gust blew through the lab, and Elle changed from a kitten to his true spirit form in the blink of an eye. His otherworldly, beautiful face was contorted in anger. I will not allow you to take my mistress, he yelled, picking me up. Protective much? Well, then again, they're essentially contracted together, so of course he's protective. What? When I squeaked in surprise, Lord Glenn heaved a big sigh from his spot across from me. I don't want to send her somewhere that's dangerous either, but if we leave it, the miasma will overflow from Radzul into Chelsea's new home, the Sergeant Margravia. I cannot say this word for the life of me! Oh no! I gripped the brooch with the Sergeant Margraviat's crest on my chest. It was proof that I was a member of the family. I didn't want to just abandon the people who gave me another home. If I was the only one who could stop it, I'll go to the Radzul Empire to protect my new family, I shouted from Elle's arms. The spirit sighed at me. If you've decided, I will not stop you, but we first see how the tree is growing. Why? When I asked confused, he looked out the window at the spirit tree. The cuttings are special branches that can only be acquired once the tree is fully grown. Any other branches will not grow into spirit trees. Looking at it now, it seems that it will take another half a month to be able to take one. I was surprised since I thought that any branch would work. Half a month, huh? We've got to get carriages and other things ready, so that should be good. Then let me get serious. Lord Glenn sat up straight, looking at me in Elle's arms. I'd like to give Chelsea, the research fellow, and Lord Element, the king of spirits, the duty of going to the Radzul Empire and planting a cutting of the spirit tree. I accept. Agreed. But it's embarrassing being called my first name, Elle mumbled and scratched his cheek, still in spirit form. And so it was decided we'd be going to the Radzul Empire. And of course, Lord Glenn was coming with us as the person who brought the issue to us. But instead of going straight there, we were going to head to the Sergeant Margraviat first. Though I was a research fellow, I was still a minor, so we needed my guardian's approval. Gotta do the groundwork too, Lord Glenn mumbled with a bitter smile. A sergeant Margraviat was where the mother who had given birth to me was born. My chest got warm at the thought that I'd be able to ask about her. Sorry. To the Sergeant Margraviat. While we were waiting for the spirit tree to finish growing so we could get a cutting from it, I focused mainly on manners lessons. Former or not, I couldn't make any mistakes when meeting with the former Emperor of Radzul. I'd gotten my curtsy to an acceptable level, and I practiced table manners every day at mealtimes, so I was fine there, but carrying on a conversation using proper noble lady language was difficult. My teacher gave me points for effort, but half a month wasn't enough for them to give me a passing grade. In the end, they decided that I would just have to try not to speak much. The day before we left, we had a send-off party in my lab. The fact that we were being sent to Radzul to plant a cutting of the spirit tree was top secret, so only a few people knew. Publicly, we were telling people that I was heading to the Sergeant Margraviat to greet my new family. Lord Glenn would be accompanying me to see about the miasma near the border, and to give my adoptive father proof that I'd become a research fellow. I didn't expect that I wouldn't be able to go with you. My adoptive brother Marks, deputy commander of the Special Order of Knights, was sulking in the corner. Aw, poor guy. My birth mother and my adoptive father were siblings, so brother was also my cousin. It turned out that he was being sent on a mission that only he was suited for, and wouldn't be able to take a vacation to accompany me. Though I would feel quite relieved if you could accompany me, brother, there is nothing we could do, I said, trying to stick to my ladylike speech, only to get a sad look back. Chelsea is becoming a lady. Your sister's going to start hating you sooner or later if you don't acknowledge her efforts. For some reason, Lord Triss's comment sounded really sure. He might have had a sister. Oh no, I understand Chelsea is trying her best. It's a bit lonely that she's speaking so formally, but it's a good thing. Standing up, brother gave me a grin. I pretended I didn't notice it twitching. I wanted to go too, but I couldn't leave the field to anyone else, Lord Triss sighed. Thank you very much. It's thanks to you that we can go without worrying, I said, trying to give him my best smile. His cheeks went red and he smiled. I'm really glad you've learned to smile now. He said something, but I couldn't hear it through the knock at the door. In came my maid, Gina, pushing a cart. We already had tea and all sorts of sweets spread out on the table, but she seemed to be bringing something else. I brought your favorite cake, Lady Chelsea. Looking closer, I realized it was the trifle cake that I loved. The cake with the custard and cream on top of fluffy sponge cake with lots of different fruits was always delicious, and I could remember smiling as I ate it. If you want more cake, you'll need to come back home soon, my other maid Martha said jokingly as she poured us our tea. Though both Gina and Martha were my personal maids, they hadn't been told about my mission. Because they only thought I was going to visit my family, they were staying here. Since everyone is here, you should begin. Kitten Owl spoke up from his spot, curled up on the sofa with a yawn. Normal people could only hear his voice as meowing, so Gina, who loved cats, jumped. You're right, since we're all here, let's hope for a safe trip for Chelsea, and get eating. At Lord Glenn's prompt, everyone took their seats and started eating the cake and sweets. After saying a prayer to the earth god, I started eating my slice of trifle cake. The fluffy sponge cake, 2 creams, and the sourness of the fruit all went together so well, and it was delicious. I couldn't help but smile. After 2-3 bites, I realized everyone was staring at me. What's wrong? I asked, completely forgetting to talk like a lady. You look like you're really enjoying it, commented Lord Glenn. I'm happy you can eat more now, said Brother with a smile. Strawberries are best left for last. You're just like me, Lord Triss grinned. I went and read. It's embarrassing to be watched as I eat, I said, puffing out my cheeks only for them to all look at each other and laugh. She's adorable, I swear to God. I can't wait to see how she is as a technical, adult, aka 15 years old. The day we left, the weather was beautiful with not a cloud in the sky. We'll be awaiting your return. We'll be waiting, okay? My cheeks felt warm as Gina and Martha saw me off at the carriage. They're waiting for me. I was so happy I couldn't speak, so I just nodded at them. They must have realized what I was thinking, so they smiled back. Then Lord Triss appeared. He was holding a paper bag the size of both my hands. I got these from the head chef, he said, showing me the contents. Cookies, caramels, and candy. He made them just for you. Thank you very much. I'll take care to enjoy them, I thanked him, bowing a little. The cookies will go bad soon, so you should eat them first. He gave me a smile. We should leave shortly. Lord Glenn, who had been talking to the coachman, spoke up. All right. Taking his hand, I stepped inside the carriage. Al was already inside in his kitten form. I'll see you all. I told the 3, seeing me off, and gave them each a smile. Please have a good trip. Gina and Martha both bowed as they spoke simultaneously, and Lord Triss. I'll be looking forward to the souvenirs, he said, waving his hand. I waved back at them as the carriage started moving. We were leaving through the fortress's side gate and heading through Count Mortgage's territory first. After that, we'd go through a few different territories before reaching the Sergeant Margraviat in 10 days. In the 4-seater carriage, there was a wooden box that would be a bit too long for me to hold on the front side, so I sat directly beside Lord Glenn. Elle was curled up on top of it, sleeping. What is this box for? I asked. Lord Glenn nodded and replied, it's the cutting branch. Since the spirit tree, my skill, and our mission were all top secret, I'd been told ahead of time to be careful when I spoke while we were traveling. We didn't know exactly how much could be heard outside the carriage, so he didn't mention the spirit tree at all. It's smaller than I thought it would be. Compared to the seed that I planted outside of the research institute, that one had grown to be just as tall at 5 stories. I thought that the branch for the cutting would be bigger than I was, but it seemed that I was wrong. While I looked at the box, Elle woke up. So we finally left. I'll have to stay with this box until we plant the cutting. I hope that is sooner rather than later. Why can't you leave the box? I asked, confused, only to get a yawn in return. I'm constantly using magic to keep the branch safe and from drying out, so I cannot leave it. Keeping it fresh, huh? We didn't use any of that magic, Lord Glenn grumbled, putting a hand to his chin. Ah, that's right. There is something I must give you. Elle, still in his kitten form, used his front paws to open the lid of the box. I could see the branch inside, but it doesn't look much like a branch. Rather than a branch, it looked like a rolling pin made of glass, sparkling. Spirit trees are not normal trees. Everything about them is unique. While I was nodding in understanding, Elle pushed both of his paws toward the branch. Eh? His paws were inside the branch. Lord Glenn was shocked too because his mouth was wide open with a hand over it. As he blinked to make sure we were seeing things right, Elle pulled his paw out of the branch. In them was a sparkling glass-like bracelet. What was that? Lord Glenn asked, careful not to say much. Elle pointed at the branch with his paw as he answered, the spirit trees are connected to the spirit world. I only took out something that I had to put inside. On the old scroll it had been written that the spirit tree birthed spirits, but the truth was that they came from the spirit world, which was on the other side of ours. I only put my hands inside because I cannot leave the branch, but I can go back and forth from the spirit world, so you could still use branches that have been cut off to do that. I thought you wouldn't be able to go back once you came. Elle shook his head at us as we muttered. I give this to you, Lady Chelsea, the kitten said, handing me the bracelet. It's made from a branch of the spirit tree. Wear it as a protective charm. Thank you, I said, slipping it onto my left wrist without thinking, but suddenly it shrank with a swish, fitting right around my wrist. I shook my head and arm in shock, but it wouldn't come off. Huh? I can't take it off. Is it cursed? Lord Glenn looked closely at the bracelet from a spot beside me as I sat there at a loss. I've appraised it, but it's just a bracelet to keep the miasma away. No curse at all. It also has something called an everything storage function, he told me, whispering in my ear so the coachman and the guard knights outside wouldn't hear. What does it do? I said, trying to be unspecific. Elle answered as he pushed the box's lid back into place. The bracelet is connected to a personal storage room for you in the spirit world. Anything you want to be stored will be sent to the room at your request. So it's the spirit version of an item box, Lord Glenn mumbled. Similar, yes. What is an item box? I asked quietly. An extra-dimensional spot where you can put things in or take them out. You can take whatever you want inside or out, no matter the size or weight. But time stops inside, so you can't put anything living inside. Is that how you sometimes pull things out of nowhere? Lord Glenn stayed silent, giving me a cheeky smile and a nod. Yep, that's exactly where those dang cups came from. Try putting the bag of sweets in your hand inside. Following Elle's direction, I looked at the bag and whispered, please take this. The moment I did, the bag disappeared. There are spirits assigned to your storage room in the spirit world. They'll always be waiting for you to call them, so please use it every now and again. There are spirits assigned to me. I looked at the bracelet in shock and it glittered back at me. The spirits taking care of your belongings are too low ranked to come to this world, so they're looking forward to you leaving things with them. Spirits have ranks? And if they're looking forward to looking after my things, I'm gonna have to put things inside often. How do I get things out? I asked. Think of the name and quantity of what you want to withdraw and either whisper or think that you want it back. Then it will fly out. But unlike an item box, please don't put in things that will rot after a long time left alone. The spirit world runs at the same time as this world. I nodded, then whispered again, I'd like the sweet bag I just put back in back. The moment I did, the purple bag appeared, and almost dropped to the floor before Lord Glenn caught it. Thank you. Good thing your cookies didn't break, he said, smiling. I told you that it would fly out. Elle shook his head at us, but no one would expect it to fly out of nowhere. I'll be resting more. Since I'm constantly using magic, I need more rest than normal. With that, he curled back up on the box and fell asleep. I saw the bag with my book out of the corner of my eye, so I thought I'd like for them to take it. It still surprised me when it disappeared. The bracelet isn't only pretty, but has an amazing function too, huh? Yeah, it's handy, and a beautiful bracelet. For some reason, Lord Glenn looked like he had mixed feelings. And curious about that. Because we'd practiced staying at inns before, our trip went smoothly without any incidents. Normally when nobles went on trips, they'd get a warm welcome in the territories they passed through and would buy lots of different things in the territories, villages, and towns as thanks. They want richer nobles to do lots of shopping and help with the development of the region. However, we weren't getting that kind of welcome on our trip, the reason being that I hadn't had my debut into society yet. Sometime in between awakening your skill at 12 and becoming an adult at 15, you debut into high society. Until then, you wouldn't publicly meet with other nobles, and since Lord Glenn was headed to the Sergeant Margraviat on a royal job, he was refusing all of the welcomes by saying he was in a hurry. I'm fine with doing some shopping in town, but I don't like getting greeted like that, he explained with a strained smile. On the afternoon of our 10th day of travel from the capital, we reached the main town in the Margraviat's territory. The town was filled with brown brick houses, and I couldn't get enough of the difference in mood from the capital. Margrave Sergeant's manor was on the west side of the town. It was called a manor, but it was big like a castle and about the same size as the research institute and the lodging house combined. As I got caught up looking at it through the little carriage window, we stopped in front of the entrance. The door opened and Lord Glenn stepped out first. Then he took my hand and held me down. El didn't move from his spot on the box with the spirit tree cutting, as he said he wouldn't. The guard knights said they'd carry him inside with the box, so we headed for the entrance hall. There, lots of people like maids and attendants were lined up to greet us. Welcome to the Sergeant Margraviat. Though it's a small manor, please take the time to relax here. In the middle of all the people was a tall man with pale golden hair and the same purple eyes as mine, my adopted father and maternal uncle, Lord Jamesford, the current Margrave Sergeant. He bowed to Lord Glenn. Thank you, Lord Glenn replied with a fake smile I didn't see often. Then he glanced my way and shot me a gentle smile before whispering, see you later. Since he had to act like a royal from now on, we'd be moving separately. He said that we'd have to act by the book because we weren't sure who was watching. My adoptive father glanced at me too and smiled. Then as Lord Glenn started walking, he joined him and walked inside the manor. As I watched them go off, Lady Ariel, my adoptive mother with her glossy black hair and black eyes, quickly walked over, standing directly in front of me. Welcome home, Chelsea. Thank you, Lady Sergeant, I said, giving a very nervous curtsy. She tilted her head, troubled. You're our family now, so you don't need to act so formal, and since we're family, can you call me Mother? Okay, Mother. She smiled softly and gave me a tight hug when I called her Mother, and the servants watching all smiled too. You must be exhausted from the long carriage ride. I'd like to tell you that you can rest, but you should meet your grandmother and grandfather first. All right. She led me inside the manor and then even further inside. Now she gets to ask about her mother. Deeper into the manor is where we live as the Margrave's family. The front is where the people involved in the management of the Margraviat work and guest rooms. The area when we first entered was decorated with vases and paintings and looked really extravagant, but the farther in we got, they all disappeared, changing into cute furniture and colorful flowers. It looked like the inner section was decorated to the family's tastes. When we got to the sunroom in the deepest part of the manor, Grandfather and Grandmother looked at me in shock. Grandfather had the same pale gold hair and purple eyes as my adoptive father, and Grandmother had green eyes and the same light pink hair as me. I really feel like I'm related. Still looking shocked, they rushed up to me, touching my head, cheeks, and shoulders. I froze since I hadn't expected that. Mother, Father, you've surprised poor Chelsea, Mother chided them. They came to their senses and stopped touching me, but they just started staring at my face. I'm sorry, I just didn't think you'd look so much like Sophia. I'm Jakeford. You can call me Jake. Welcome, Chelsea. I'm your grandmother, Emma. It's nice to meet you, Grandfather Jake, Grandmother Emma. I greeted them with a curtsy and they smiled. It wasn't weird for me to introduce myself to family with a curtsy, was it? Nervous, I looked over at Mother, but she was smiling too. I'm glad I did the right thing. They urged me to sit down on the sofa, so I did. Huh? The fabric on this sofa is so silky. As I ran my hands over the soft sofa fabric, Grandmother whispered she's nothing like her on the inside. Her was probably comparing me to my birth mother. Mother had told me that my behavior was similar. What did she mean by saying I wasn't like her on the inside? What kind of person was my birth mother? Mother had told me to ask them about her, so I did. They smiled gently back. To put it simply, she was a tomboy, said Grandfather. Tomboy doesn't cover half of it. She'd chase after her brothers, climb trees, swing swords. She was nothing like a noble lady, sighed Grandmother. She was always wearing the same shirts and pants as her older brothers. There was no choice. If you put her in a dress, she'd come back with it ripped and covered in mud. My jaw dropped in shock. They're talking about when she was little, right? It seems she was lively. She went off with them exterminating monsters when she became an adult, didn't she? I wanted her to act more ladylike, but she was very strong. Wait. She was still like that as an adult? Rather than lively, that's, I stopped understanding, just blinking more. I told her to go to some tea parties as an adult, but... Grandmother sighed again. Oh, yeah, she'd go to them dressed as a man, Mother chimed in. With that, the image of my mother in my head shattered. It was my fault for building her up as some sort of holy mother when I didn't even have any memories of her. But to think she was that lively, I didn't know she was that much of a tomboy. Sophia had 2 upper-level skills. She was a very smart girl. Yes, she could do anything. She'd cook, clean, and do laundry just like the maids. She always said that she could marry into any family. When they noticed my stunned look, grandfather, grandmother, and mother all rushed to tell me her good points. My mental image had already been destroyed. That's right, we've got portraits of her. Grandmother rang a bell and a maid came in with the portraits. This is her at 3 years old. A little girl with the same light pink hair and purple eyes as me stood in a cute dress, smiling with her chest puffed out. This is from when she was 8. The little girl was smiling happily in riding clothes. This is her at 12 after awakening to her skills. The girl taller than me smiled in men's clothes. Here's her after she became an adult. All the portraits of her as an adult had her wearing gowns and grinning fearlessly. She's smiling in every portrait. She must have been really happy, I murmured. Hearing me, both grandfather and grandmother looked like they were about to cry. Will you tell us about how you've lived up until now, Chelsea? Grandfather asked. I'm assuming they hadn't told them this. After drinking the rest of my tea, I slowly told them all that had happened. I probably shouldn't have gone into such detail. By the time I realized that, grandfather had left the room in a rage. Of course he did! You've lived a hard life. I'm sorry we couldn't save you sooner. We'll do our best to protect you from now on, grandmother said, moving to sit beside me before hugging me tight and stroking my hair. Thank you. I tried to give her my best smile and hugged her tightly back. After a while, grandfather came back to the sunroom looking slightly refreshed. This is your home. You can do whatever you want while you're here. I gave a strained smile in response, and grandfather pet me on the head, too. Is there anything you want? Grandfather asked. I had lots of clean, pretty clothes, and I ate yummy things every day. I couldn't think of anything else I wanted. Would you like me to do upsies with you? What are upsies? She has no clue. She never got any of the fun times. Oh, I hate that so much. I hate that those people treated her so horribly. Thankfully, they got what they deserved. I wonder if we'll ever hear back from those people. All 3 of the adults looked sad for some reason when I asked that. I would pick you up like this. Grandfather minded lifting something up high and then putting it down a few times. I remember seeing Margaret being played with like that when we were little. And that was for little kids. That's a bit... I knew that my height made me look younger than 12, and I was a child compared to grandfather, but I wasn't that young. So I shook my head. Oh, Jake, your bad habit is showing again. Grandmother admonished him, moving between us. You should rest for the rest of today. Grandfather looked really dissatisfied. Thank you. After thanking grandmother and bowing to grandfather, I left the sunroom with mother. I'll show you to your room, she said. Okay, thank you very much. Oh, dear, you don't have to be so formal with family. She gave me another tight hug. I wasn't sure what to do. I'd studied how to talk like a proper lady, but I didn't know how you were supposed to talk to family. Yeah, your example of that is very, very bad. Mother showed me to a room on the 2nd floor, and I saw nothing but flowers when we opened the door. The sofa, bed, curtains, carpets, everything was flower patterned. The well-used looking chest in the closet both had flower decorations. Even the drawer pulls were shaped like flowers. This is your mother's room, and now it's yours. We left the furniture the way it was and bought all new things, but if you want another pattern, just tell us and we'll have it changed. Mother explained, giving me a smile. My birth mother's room, but now it's mine. I smiled naturally at the thought that I had another place to call home other than my room back in the lodging house at the Institute. Thank you for the wonderful room. I'm glad you like it. There's still time until dinner, so you should rest for now. Saying that, Mother left the room. Besides myself, there was also a maid here who started making tea for me. I sat down on the sofa and looked around. Everywhere I looked was covered in a floral design. I heard that my mother was a free and lively person, but she might have also liked cute things. It feels kind of weird. It's not nostalgic, but sort of warm. I can't explain it. Letting my guard down, I accidentally let a big yawn slip. The maid making my tea pretended she didn't see it. I might have a nap, I murmured to myself. Laying back on the sofa, all the fatigue from the long trip put me right to sleep. Okay, let's see what happens with this. What time is it? Damn, already? Hold on. 29 minutes already? Oh my god, I just get lost in this book! Oh my god! Interlude 1. Glenn and Margrave James Sargent. Once we arrived at Margrave Sargent's manor, the current Margrave, James, led me to his drawing room. It felt like a comfortable room with furnishings not too showy, but also not plain. After giving each other our greetings, we sat across from each other on sofas. "Can you clear the room?" I said quietly, and James nodded before having everyone present leave, closing the door behind them. "I'll get straight to the point. Here." I put a letter containing orders for my older brother the king onto the table between us, sealing the letter with special purple sealing wax that only the king of Chronowise could use, which looked both red and blue from different angles. James picked the letter up, immediately opening it to read its contents. Inside it said things like, "Glenn is acting on orders from the king on a top-secret mission. Do everything you can to assist him, and allow Chelsea to go to the Radzulk Empire. Not seeing any information on Glenn's mission, how he could help, and the reason why Chelsea was being sent to the Radzulk Empire wasn't written down." James tilted his head in confusion. "We didn't want to put any of it in writing, so I'm here to tell you verbally," I said, before going into detail as to why we were here and what the mission was about. "So you're heading to Radzul, which is overflowing with miasma, with Chelsea. The existence of the spirit tree and spirits that are linked to the miasma, how Chelsea was the only one who could plant the cutting, Radzul's request for a spirit tree cutting." I didn't gloss over a single detail in my explanation. James was frowning, probably worried about Chelsea's safety. "Before that, we were planning on doing something about the miasma flowing into the Sargent Margraviat." James's frown only deepened. "Forgive me, Your Highness, but I thought that you had only brought one branch cutting. If you are going to plant it in the Radzul Empire, you will not have anything to plant here. How do you plan to deal with the miasma?" "We're going to have Chelsea create a seed." "A seed?" He looked confused at my answer. "You must already know how, but I'll explain. Chelsea's skill's seed creation allows her to create any seed she wishes for." I paused, sighing deeply. "Though our research so far, we found that she really can't create any seed she wishes for. A non-existent seed for a spirit tree, a seed that would become a medicinal ingredient without any side effects. As long as we create a blueprint for her to follow, she can make any seed. That means it's possible for her to make one to deal with the miasma." He swallowed loudly. Being able to make any seed imaginable meant that she could both save or destroy the world. He must have realized that it all depended on how Chelsea thought. "Does she understand how dangerous her skill is?" he muttered. "I've already spoken to her about it. For now, since she hasn't created any harmful seeds, we aren't planning on sealing her mana. I'm promised to protect her as long as she doesn't make any bad seeds." When I said that, James' frown became even more pronounced. "What's wrong?" I asked, confused by his sudden change. "Forgive my insolence, but allow me to ask something." He started, crossing his arms in front of him. "What will become of your promise when either of you become engaged?" "Yeah, considering if either of you becomes engaged, then you won't be able to do this sort of thing because you'll be focused on your own families." "If either of us become engaged, huh?" I looked away, hearing him point out something I had been avoiding thinking about. "It's still early for Chelsea to have a fiancé, but you have been an adult for 3 years, Your Highness. It wouldn't be strange at all for you to get engaged. And if you were, how do you expect to still prioritize Chelsea's safety? There probably wouldn't be a woman alive who would accept that. At the very least, none of the women who had sent me requests for marriage meetings so far would allow it. I can see from your face that you think it's impossible, but if so, please return Chelsea to the Sargent Margraviat. We'll do everything in our power to protect her," sighed James as I avoided his gaze. "Yeah, it does pose a question. Let's study. When I woke up, I was in bed. I thought I drifted off on the couch. Sitting up and looking around the room, all the lamps were off and there was light shining in from the cracks in the curtains. Oh no, did I sleep all night without eating dinner?" The moment I realized this, I heard a knock on the door. In walked my adoptive mother, followed by a few maids. "Good morning, Chelsea. You wouldn't wake up no matter how much we shook you, so we got you changed and put into bed. You're looking better, so let's go have some breakfast." I looked down at myself when she said that and realized that my clothes had changed into a nightgown. "I'm sorry," I apologized, feeling bad only for her to shake her head at me. "Instead of apologizing, you should say thank you. And even before that, isn't there something you should say first? What do you say when you first wake up?" "Ah, good morning." "Good girl. Once you get dressed, have the maids bring you to the dining hall, okay?" "Okay." My new mother smiled at me before she walked out of the room. I didn't understand I had been scolded, but it didn't make me feel bad. In fact, it made my chest warm up. This might be what they mean by familial love. After that, the maid she brought in with her helped me get ready, putting me in a brand new dress from the closet. "You look wonderful, milady," one of the maids told me as I spun in front of the mirror. The dining hall in Margrave Sargent's manor was in the center of the building, split between a small one and a large one. When the family ate alone, they just used the small one, but when there were guests like Lord Glenn, they ate in the larger one. Walking inside, I saw that everyone else was already seated. I hadn't said good morning to anyone but Mother, so I thought that I probably should. Good morning, I said, only to get a response from everyone. I'm glad I was right. Seated from the farthest side were Glenn, my new father, my new mother, and a man and a boy that I had never seen before. Across from them were grandfather, an empty seat, and grandmother. Let me introduce you. This is Cy, our oldest son, and Felix, our youngest. Mother pointed at the two I didn't recognize. I'm Cy Furt, the next Margrave. Call me Cy. I'm Felix Furt, and I just became an adult this year. Call me Brother Felix. Brother Cy had light golden hair and purple eyes, while Brother Felix had shiny black hair and green eyes. It seemed that all the men in the Sargent family had Fort at the end of their names. My name is Chelsea. I'm terribly sorry that I didn't meet with you yesterday. Brother Cy, Brother Felix, I hope you'll treat me well. I showed them one of my best curtsies, and they both broke into grins. Felix, little sisters are great, huh? Bro, Cy, I'm so glad I was born. The two of them spoke quietly to each other, but I couldn't hear any of it. For some reason, my seat was between grandfather and grandmother. Shouldn't I be at the last seat at the foot of the table order-wise? I'm sorry, Chelsea. Jake insisted that he wanted to sit beside you. I really wanted you to sit in my lap. Do you want her to hate you like Sophia did? I don't think Sophia hated him. She probably just didn't like all the girly stuff and didn't like being treated like a cute little girl. She was a tomboy, after all. No. Grandfather and grandmother started chatting, too. I'll be okay with that, I said, and grandfather lit up. We could do it after breakfast. Chelsea is so much more tolerant than Sophia, grandmother muttered calmly. I just said yes because I've never sat on anyone's lap before and I wanted to try. Oh my gosh, she's adorable. Breakfast was delicious, but I left a lot uneaten. Did you not like your food, grandfather asked. Oh, I did, I'm just already full. Before, I was never able to eat much, so my stomach is small, I replied. He teared up. Oh, but I can eat a lot more than I could before. That just made grandmother tear up, too. I'll do my best to eat more, so please don't cry. I tried to comfort them, but they just patted my head and rubbed my back as they sniffled. After breakfast, we headed to the sunroom so I could try sitting on grandfather's lap. Come here, Chelsea, he beckoned. I walked up to him as he sat on the sofa, and he picked me up and sat me on his lap. It was hard and lumpy, but warm. It felt strange. I looked down at his arms holding me so I wouldn't fall. I noticed they were thick and covered in scars. Grandfather, why are your arms so scarred? I accidentally let it slip. I slapped my hand over my mouth, but I couldn't take it back. I definitely made him feel bad. I glanced up at him in worry, thinking he was cross with me, but he just smiled. You see, the Sergeant Margravia is beside the Radzol Empire and the Demonic Forest. The Demonic Forest was in the middle of the continent and was so full of monsters that no human could live there. We haven't been at war with Radzol for a long time, but sometimes there are some scamps who come over to fight, and monsters are constantly coming from the forest. I understood that the Margravia was a dangerous spot, and chrono-wise, I'd heard from Lord Glenn that on the north side, along their border with the Demonic Forest, was a tall wall, and they played offense and defense against the monsters. The soldiers I saw patrolling inside and outside of the manor were all muscular. The gardeners, gatekeepers, and stable boys were all brawny too. I could even see muscles on thin women here too. Everyone in our territory got tired of living in fear and chose to fight. And it wasn't just the citizens who thought that, but the Margrave. Back then I did too. I was the same as his wife. Grandmother too? I asked, shocked. We got engaged when we were still children, so I was taught how to protect myself before we got married. And once we were, I couldn't just sit by while he came back covered in wounds, so I learned how to fight. My gentle grandmother said with a fearless smile. So grandfather's scars are proof that he's fought monsters and ruffians, I whispered as I looked at them, and he nodded to me. Then I should learn how to protect myself and fight too. But when I said that, my grandparents groaned. If you're going to live in the Margravia, it would be a good idea, but it would be difficult for you right now, said grandfather. That's true, grandmother said. First you need to aim for being able to eat a lot more. Then you should learn how to move when someone is protecting you. I knew that I was a lot shorter and a more scrawny than other people my age. I also knew that since I couldn't protect myself, I'd have to have other people protect me. But I still felt a bit gloomy. I just nodded at what grandmother for now. You should learn how to run from enemies and how to ask for help. Once you learn those, it'll make learning to defend yourself easier. Since you've got Sergeant Blood in you, I know you'll want to fight someday, but that someday isn't here yet. You don't have to rush. My grandparents' words made a big impression on my life from then on. Okay, I think I'm going to have to end this off here. I will see everybody in the next video.